All right, good afternoon, folks. It is currently Sunday, October 18th. This is going to be another YouTube chart prep video for the upcoming week. As a friendly reminder, these are videos to help you make money, not necessarily educational videos. We have plenty of educational ones on the channel. But for the most part, what I want to talk about in this video specifically, a couple of earnings movers, right? We're also going to recap the NASDAQ movement for the week and, kind of take a look at what we expect to happen over the course of the next week or two. And we're also going to discuss two momentum movers on top of that. So there's a lot to talk about, right, between the major index, momentum plays and earnings plays. So let's get into it. All right. Actually, real quick before we do, if you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Remember, this is public info. It's available to anybody. It's not like the $50 a month, paid chat that we have. So if you want to send this over to a friend, by all means, right, share the info. Okay. Either way, we're going to kick it off with the NASDAQ. This is the 1 year, 1 day chart. And just to kind of recap what happened this week, these are the futures, by the way, so that I can show you guys all the key levels here. But we had a really aggressive start. Everybody got super excited. And then wouldn't you know, we wiped out almost all of those gains with 4 consecutive red days by the end of the week. Now, this is actually a pretty big deal because I know it seems like a very mediocre week in terms of performance, but it's a big deal because what we did not get this week was follow through. Okay, I want to make a point out of that because we got the election coming up in just a few weeks here, and investors in general are expecting a big move down or a big move up. But what people are not taking into account is that a lot of times when we have the uncertainty of an event coming up, we either see gradual weakness or we see a lack of follow through. Meaning if we were to break out, come Monday, NASDAQ lights up and tries to break out. In that scenario, do not expect follow through. Okay. And I'm going to keep saying that throughout the video, for Tesla, Netflix, the other tickers we're going to get into, do not expect follow through. Okay. Just take profits at your first couple targets and leave it be. But either way, for the NASDAQ, we did see it wipe out those gains. We ended up pulling back down to the 8 EMA by the end of the week. If you guys are familiar with the kind of chart analysis that we do in Trade with Techs, this is a pretty normal thing to look for a continuation off the 8 EMA. However, that's going to be our saving grace in the upcoming week, in the sense that if the NASDAQ is able to defend the 8 EMA, great. We'll look for a small bounce back. If not, we're going to look for a slide down here. Okay, back to this zone. Because if you look at what has happened over the past couple of months, we had the NASDAQ pull back pretty hard, right? And basically we were just ranging back and forth within this box for a while. Okay, you can see that happened here. And you can see it happen back here for a couple of days as well. So worst comes to worst, we get a pullback down to that zone. That specifically is at 11,604.75. And again, that's the risk, right? Or reward if you're willing to short. But that's the downside here. If it cracks through that little zone from the key fib up to the 8 EMA. Okay, it's a support zone. It's not just one flat level. So this week, that's going to be your main focus. Okay, and just to be clear, I outlined 3 levels here, right? This is a historical resistance level that will now be support. Right, we'll use that as a target if it breaks down. And then this zone is the 8 EMA we talked about, and then a key fib, and it's the same exact fib that we had drawn from the high to the low. So if you're aware of how fib retracements work, just draw it from the high to the low, right? From this high to this low right here at 10,650. And that'll give you the key levels that I'm looking at. Okay. If we're talking about bounce potential, the unfortunate part about this pullback is that we do have a lot of resistance on the way up. So I'm actually not that optimistic going into this week. I think it'll require a lot of patience and the absolute need to wait for confirmation. Because if you're in the chat, Monday through Thursday, we had a killer trading week, right? And then come Friday, not that great because we did not wait for confirmation on a lot of these setups. So my big takeaways in terms of price action going into this week, wait for confirmation, right? And do not expect follow through. Take profits at your first couple of targets because this price action is not that great. Okay. I'm not talking about bullish or bearish. I'm just talking about follow through in general. okay? So that's the setup I'm looking for, this short down here. Let's say we do bounce, just to give you the overhead levels. I'll switch it to the hourly to show you. So the 20-day 1 hour, okay? And if I'm going through this too fast or too slow, right, you can change up the YouTube settings to speed it up or slow it down. But again, we just switched to the hourly time frame here, just so that I don't lose any of you guys. So you can see the support zone just below that we were talking about. And then resistance, we got a lot overhead. Specifically right here at a key fib, that's 11,873.25. And then above that, we have 11,980.25. That's what knocked us down on Friday. That's right here. Okay. So resistance 1, resistance 2. This is the support zone. And then the next support is way down there. So that would be the short we're looking for if it cracks. Okay. It's a lot of key levels, but you really can't go into the week underprepared. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 in total, right? One of which is a zone. Okay. Make sure to have those up for the upcoming week. Again, we did not follow through after that big Monday, and I'm not expecting too much follow through, even though it's going to be an earnings week. Okay. So basically, we're looking for a moving average breakdown early on, if that plays out. If not, we'll look for a relief bounce to these two levels. Gonna let the markets decide. I'm not gonna go into this week with a bias. Okay. Now, the tricky part about this is that a lot of the scans, I ran scans for over an hour today, by the way, usually only takes me 15 to 30 minutes. That's how few setups there were. So again, when I'm giving you guys all these cautionary notes about, follow through and about taking profits, make sure that sticks in your head, because it's not going to be a forgiving week. Either way, wanted to mention that Tesla and Netflix report this week. Tesla reports after hours on Wednesday. Okay, so after the closing bell. Netflix reports after hours on Tuesday. I'm going out of order a little bit here because I like Tesla more. Okay, the setup, not the company. And then on top of that, I will say Snapchat has had a lot of bullish options flow, and that is after the bell on Tuesday as well. So in terms of active traders, right, what you should be looking at are these three. But if you were just looking for a kind of smaller list, focus on these two. Okay, those are the big earnings. And there are a lot of airlines reporting, right? If we're looking at groups, that'll be on Thursday. So we'll be able to transition to that. But airlines have been horrible lately. So I'm going to focus on the big names for now. Okay. Either way, Tesla is currently pulling back. One thing that really stuck out about this past week's movement, electric vehicle stocks actually didn't do that poorly, because we had NIO get a huge upgrade early in the week from JP Morgan, right? You guys are familiar with NIO. And it ran up big time. So Tesla actually did pop up with it on Wednesday, I think it was. And it did not hold the resistance. It got rejected, and that led to a bigger pullback. So first things first, before we get into the game plan here for Tesla, one thing you have to be aware of is that zone in the 460s is pretty big resistance. So let's say on earnings it even spikes up to that zone, or a month or two later. Make sure you are getting the confirmation above it if you're looking for a bigger target, because 463.7 is very big resistance. Okay, I've even set an alert above it so that we can potentially get a short off of it if it does pop up there. Okay, either way, Tesla is starting to lose the moving average, and this is the same game plan as the NASDAQ. If it cracks that moving average, we're just looking for a key level to key level setup. Now, the good part about this Tesla chart, it actually has a lot of downside here. Again, I love playing this stock long as much as the next guy, but look at the lack of volume, right? This is a constructive base that's building. I do like it for a breakthrough 463.70 if it can confirm that, but it has not. It just got rejected there 2 days back. So by that line of logic, what's more than likely going to play out here is we're going to pull back down to this zone. Okay? So for Tesla, that exact zone is at 405.88. That's going to be the target if it cracks through this fib right here, which overlaps with the moving average, and that's at 437.23. Okay, and if you've been following these videos for a while, you know how I drew my Tesla fibs, right? If we zoom it out, just so you can see it, it's from 273 all the way up to this high at 538.75. I'll say that one more time. Draw your fibs on Tesla from 273 to 538.75, because it looks like that's the high, but it actually spiked a lot higher after the split before pulling back. Okay, so that's where I'm getting these numbers from. So basically, after you draw the fibs, you get these blue lines on your chart, and that's going to show exactly what I'm looking for. If it does not hold that area, that's the short target. And I know there are a couple of support levels on the way down, but realistically, that's going to hit. Okay. Now, for just those of you who are actually going to trade the earnings report after hours, not the day before or day after, the big thing to look out for are comments for deliveries, right? If they guide above the 500K deliveries for 2020, okay? So if they say, hey, we're delivering a lot more than we were, intending to, if we have 520, 530, 540, whatever number they throw out for the full year, that's going to result in a huge move to the upside, okay? The other thing to look out is for batteries. Their manufacturing for the batteries specifically, that's been getting a lot of hype, but I don't think they're going to change any of those numbers realistically. Okay. Either way, for Tesla, we're either looking for a pop back up to 463.70. I would prefer the short setup down to that zone here. Okay. Netflix is a super similar chart, and again, it's because all these tech stocks just gave back their gains entirely at the end of the week. But Netflix is sitting right at support at 5. Sorry, that's not a 5, that's a 2. 528.98. So same thing, right? We draw our fibs from low to high. Okay, this is on the 18th of September, and this is on the 14th of October. So that recent high from this past week. Okay, draw those fibs and you can see the exact levels. If Netflix defends this, it's got some bounce potential, but it has not been able to clear the 550s. Okay, so it's very limited upside. But I mean, I guess technically upside and downside are equal here. Either way, there's nothing but air until 515.55. So it sounds like I just want to short everything, but for the most part, until we get the numbers for earnings, that's the move that we're looking for. Okay, and then if Netflix, crushes their subscriber growth, if Tesla crushes their deliveries, then we'll start mapping out the levels overhead. But for now, that's the meat of the move that I'm looking for. All right. So Netflix, Tesla, would love to play the downside. They're sitting right at support. So that means early on in the week, we're going to get some kind of setup. Okay. We're almost guaranteed to get a setup. All right. I'm not going to go over Snapchat. I want to limit the number of tickers I go over here. Basically what we've talked about so far, NASDAQ, we're using the same fibs and moving averages. Okay. Remember to take your profits at the first targets. Don't look for massive moves. Okay. Tesla, after hours on Wednesday, and would like to play it on the short side. Set the alert above 463.70 if you haven't yet. And then Netflix, rejected in the 550s again, and we're looking for that move. All right. Now, there are two more tickers, and since I'm just kind of shorting everything known to man, apparently, let's talk about a bullish one. SPCE, which you guys are probably familiar with from its massive run-up way back in the start of 2020, right? The stock went from $6 to $42 because of all the space hype, and now it is back into the 22s, 23s, where it usually pops another $1 to $3 from. So basically the last couple of times this stock has moved, if we refer back to April, May, right? Didn't get above 20.5, didn't get above 20.5. And we had a YouTube video on that. We said, watch it, and it didn't follow through. Okay, it didn't confirm. This time it has gotten above 20.5. And if you look at the price action, it actually used that for a higher swing low. So trend trading 101, we got a blog post about it on the Trade with Tech site as well. But when we form that higher swing high, okay, and then a higher swing low, that's usually followed up with a breakout. Okay, so SPCE, the unfortunate part is because the market sold off so hard on Friday, it got dragged back down below 22.54. which was the previous swing high. Okay, so it's a simple game plan for SPCE. If this thing shows any type of strength over 22.54, then it should be able to follow through to Friday's high, which the exact level is 23.40. Okay, and then up to 24.70, which is the next fib. All right, these are the same fibs that we've had on this chart all year. Okay, so SPCE, watching for the breakout. And just to be clear, I'm watching for the breakout not because I like the stock. You know, it's just a basic technical read. It's got a higher swing low off a key level, right? So it's building momentum and it's building a base. And then on top of that, if you were day trading on Friday, as much of a pain in the ass as it was, there was a lot of bullish options flow for this ticker. And options flow isn't that big a deal, but it does drive short-term buying or selling pressure to a stock. Okay, keyword short-term there. So basically for SPCE, those 23, 24 calls got hit hard, and we're going to look for a move back up into that zone. Okay, this is technically a steady trender, but it's got some momentum behind it, so I would like to see that break above 22.54. All right, target 1, target 2. Okay. Now, last ticker is something that you might have forgotten about. It played out super well on Monday, incredibly on Monday, but unfortunately, with the rest of pot stocks, CGC could not hold its gains. So just to give you an idea, right, we had talked about this on the weekly and the daily chart last time, and I know a lot of you guys watching the YouTube videos actually banked on this because people I never even talked to before reached out to me and said thanks for CGC. I mean, that's awesome. I appreciate it. I'm glad you made some money off these videos, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's watching them. You're the one who's pulling the trigger. So good on you, right, if you banked on it. Either way, one thing I want to just kind of say right off the bat, that's not a pretty weekly candle. And remember, we use these weekly candles, right? We transition from the daily chart to the weekly. That's the next higher time frame. We use these larger time frames for larger moves. They're more significant. So I don't like that weekly candle. I think that realistically, pot stocks are going to pull back a little bit more before the election. But I keep thinking, what is going to run up into the election? Solar stocks are up so much, I don't feel like paying an arm and a leg to, trade them with minimal risk to reward. Pot stocks are still looking pretty good, even though they had a rough week last week. So I'm not looking to buy at this price. What I'm telling you guys right now is what I do every single weekend. I find a group of tickers that I like, and I kind of just define what I want from them. So from CGC, what I want after that weekly candle that got rejected at that trend line, okay, what I want is a little bit better of a price so I can go long for the run up into the election. Okay, not from stocks as a whole, but from pot stocks. So CGC pulled back. It's currently sitting at its 8 EMA like every other stock that we've pulled up. If it cracks that, there are a couple of bigger support levels. The ideal area to get in would be between 1670 and 1634. Okay, this is a fib on a really funky time frame. I'm not going to pull it up. I'm just going to have you guys take my word for it. And then this is the 50-day SMA. So I know that it has a lot of support on the way down. You can see it. I'll put it in green. Support, 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 right? But the ideal zone that I'm looking at is right here. Okay. There's sufficient risk to reward where you're not going to take a beating, right? If they break down a little bit more or if the markets pull back some, okay? And then on top of all that, it'll make for a great swing trade. Okay, so a lot of the movers that we outlined today specifically are for short-term trades. And even though that's the case with CGC as well, this is setting up for swing traders. So if you trade common stock, right, you just want to buy shares, or if you trade options, this has that available as well. This is a good ticker to kind of set the alert and wait for. So I set the alert already below 1670. So if it tests that area, I'll buy. Right, unless there's some kind of unusual circumstance, but I'll probably buy it. Okay, so all you got to do is right click the chart if you're in Thinkorswim and then hit create alert at or below 1670. Okay, And I have it set so that it texts me when that goes off, but you can set your notifications however you want. All right. So CGC rejected at the trend line to find what price I want to get long at, and I'm waiting for it. Okay. But hopefully this video helps you guys out. I know it's not what you all want to hear. I know you want to hear NASDAQ is going to crash. Tesla is going to shoot up to all-time highs. Netflix, who cares about cuties? We're going all-time highs. That's not what I'm here to say, right? I'm here to be realistic. So we created realistic game plans. Wait for the confirmation and take profits at your targets. Okay. I'm saying this because I had a red day on Friday, my first red day in 3 weeks, and I got my ass handed to me. And if I just stuck to my rules, it would not have been a problem, right? Got a little bit too comfortable in this market. Okay. So 2 momentum plays, 2 earnings plays, and a NASDAQ update. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to try out our chat room with the free audio and screen share all day, right? You have a free week trial on the website. It's tradewithtex.com/sign up. Okay, the link is in the description of the video. All right. Either way, have a good trading week, guys, and good luck ahead of the election. Okay, take it easy, folks.